You have to hear the story of how a lawyer who spent 18 years at a big firm left and started their own fully focused family firm that has grown to over 6 attorneys. An incredible story to come. Hi, my name is Tyler Dolph. I am the CEO of Rocket Clicks, and welcome back to the Revenue Roadmap. We are continuing our interview series today where we talk to family law firm owners and hear their story. Today, we talk to Scott Ashby, who is an incredible attorney. He spent a number of years at a big corporate law firm working with large companies and just decided it wasn't for him after a long time. He wanted to do something new. And so he built the Pacific Northwest family law firm, did it from scratch. He has a great origin story on how he came to this conclusion and what he's done since. Make sure to check it out. Scott, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Give us a little background on your story, the firm, how things got started. We love the origin stories around here.
Oh, sure. Well, I'll try to make it quick. I grew up on a farm in north central Washington and thought I would be a farmer. And at some point, I really became attracted to the law. I had a cousin who was an attorney. And so I studied. I did not do well in high school. I did very poorly in high school, near the bottom of the class, I'm afraid to admit.
Classic entrepreneur.
Yeah, but when I got to the university, that got exciting, and I did very well there and ended up at a good law school, a really good law school, and got recruited to a very large firm in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was there in Phoenix for, I think, 18 years doing commercial litigation for mostly Fortune 100 companies and had a successful career. But I don't know, the term burned out is not really very accurate and it's so broad and I think it's overused. So I don't want to put that label on it, but I thought there must be more and started looking around. I was, maybe it was a midlife crisis, but whatever. I started looking around and I thought there must be something more. And about that time, I found out that there was an attorney who was getting ready to retire and had a small practice and about 3 or 4 people working for him, and just decided, you know what, I'm going to resign my partnership and I'm going to go start doing some more consumer oriented stuff and see if I like that better.
And so literally like on a whim said, I'm going to get out of the...
Well, it wasn't a whim. I mean, I'll be very candid. I was going to counseling and trying to figure out what I want to do with my life and talking with my wife. We've been married 45 years now. So, she's every bit of, she's very much a life partner that I talk things over with. And, Phoenix was expanding and continues to expand. Don't get me wrong, we love Phoenix. But boy, growing up on a farm and, when I first moved to Phoenix, my commute was 20 minutes. And we bought a house, and by the time I moved away, it was an hour and 20 minutes one way. And so that starts eating into your day, when you're spending nearly 3 hours a day in the car. And with a 2,000, trying to build 2,000 hours a year and then spending 3 hours a day in a car, it started to be a little rough. And so moved back to Washington where I grew up, and joined this very small, largely consumer-oriented firm. And it was for about the first couple of months, I felt, how do you want to say it? I was like almost like being a new attorney all over again. But having said that, I had very, very good courtroom skills that, thanks to the big firm and the training programs and all of those things I had developed. And so I caught on pretty quickly and started having a lot of clients come to me. And after about 2 years at working for somebody else, and I'd been a partner at the big firm in Arizona. And so I guess I was chafing at the bit a little bit and regretting working for somebody else because this other person was not entrepreneurial in the same way that I was, and didn't want to grow, didn't want to market very much, didn't want to look for better and bigger clients, mostly just had a big sign out front on a busy street, and people would just drop in with all kinds of problems. And the lack of focus and the lack of, it just started driving me nuts. And so So I left that and thought, well, here I go, and opened my own firm. And I hired a paralegal who also helped me keep the books. And the one thing when you're moving from a large firm into, you decide, hey, I'm going to start my own firm, or you move to a smaller firm. The big thing, and maybe you guys have found that out too, probably, is what do you mean I got to keep books? And how do you do trust accounting? I'm a 20-year attorney, and like, oh crap, if I get this wrong, I could get this barred. I got to be really careful with my trust account. And so I actually went and took, I don't know if you call them remedial courses, but courses from the bar on how do you do trust accounting. And in Washington, most bar associations, I think, have those available. Now they didn't then 15 years ago, but now they have those available on demand, streaming, and so they're easy to get. But back then I had to travel and stay overnight and go take a course on, my undergraduate degree was economics, and so I'd had a couple of semesters of accounting, but by then that was a long time ago, and I had to figure out how to do trust accounting, had to look at all of the different offerings. There's a plethora of practice management software offerings, and figure out what I wanted to do there. And there was a lot more than I'd anticipated. At the same time, I must say it was hugely enjoyable.
You got to make all the decisions. It's so funny, Scott, your story is not a unique one, right? You go from working at a large firm where everything's kind of done and you get to just be a great attorney, which is awesome. And it's amazing. And kind of that's the image I'm sure you had when you were in law school. And then just transition to, I now have to pay rent. I have to make payroll. I have to understand accounting and Excel and business management and all these things that are not.
Yeah, and my wife isn't going to be happy with me if I can't pay the mortgage, right? And so if I can't get a new car every few years, and if I can't go on vacation, my wife isn't going to be happy. And so I guess the next stage is I became very busy. I mean, I'm a good courtroom attorney, and so I became very busy. I got good referrals. I'd set up a network. And I think that's important. And I wasn't spending a lot of money. I mean, the most money I spent was I had a website, hired somebody to develop that. And it wasn't a great website, but it was a website. And, I was really busy, and I was making pretty good money, just me. And I had 2 paralegals and an office manager who also did some paralegal work, right? And we were busy. We were really busy. And after a while, I started feeling tired and a little exhausted. It is exhausting being a true solo. I don't know how people do it. That is, I tried going on vacation, and of course, they took my cell phone, and, you get calls from clients that need something, and hey, you got to file this motion, and you got to do this. Well, I'm on vacation. Well, who's going to help me? Oh my goodness, I don't know. I can get to it next week. It's just me. And so that became really stressful, and I couldn't be gone for more than just a few days, it seemed like. I mean, one time my daughter was graduating high school, and so we decided to take a trip to London I think we went for 10 days. And we go over to London, and the whole time was stressful. And I still have good memories from it, don't get me wrong, but I did not expect the stress and the number of phone calls and emails from my office staff saying, what do we do? This happened, or what do we do? That happened. And when I came back from that trip to London, I said, I've got to do some marketing, and I've got to hire another attorney. And so that was really the beginning. That was coming to that realization was really set the stage. And it's like, I look back and there's some turning points, but that was the big one when I decided I don't like not being able to take a vacation. I don't like not being able to set my own schedule. I like being in business for myself. I like making the strategic decisions, but more and more the firm is running me, and I felt like I was working for my staff rather than the other way around, right? And I can see some heads nodding, so I think you all probably experienced the same thing a few years ago. And so I took a deep breath and rented a larger space and hired an attorney and started to do some marketing. And so that's the origination. It just, at some point, not too far into it, I had never done a lot of family law. I mean, being a big firm litigator for large companies. I mean, I was used to having maybe 2 cases and as a partner to a big firm running a trial team. And, it's different when you start doing consumer oriented work. You have a lot more than two cases or you can't pay the rent. And so I had to learn how to juggle a lot of cases. That's one thing, skill I did not have coming from big law. I could juggle 2, 3, 4, 5 cases. But, I think at one point when I finally decided to hire another attorney, I think I had 75 active cases. And, I installed a big whiteboard in my office and I had them all listed, and I was doing it that way because I couldn't even keep track of them with my computer system. And, to make sure one didn't fall through the cracks. And I wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh man, with all these cases, did I forget anything? Did I forget somebody? Yeah. I mean, it started to take its toll. And so hired another attorney and got half those cases over to her, and started to see that, okay, maybe this isn't too bad. But I ran into some roadblocks. Having one or two attorneys working with you, inflation changes everything. They're just rough back of hand. When I got close to $1 million in revenue for the firm, I started running into all kinds of issues. And I actually hired a business coach, somebody who's in the coaching industry. I joined a coaching group, and that turned out actually very, very good up until about $3 million. And at that point, we started running into some different roadblocks, right? And we started to have to add some middle managers. And so I joined a different coaching group because I needed somebody who was not oriented towards the coaching group I was first in was oriented towards getting you to 7 figures. And it worked really well up into about 3 million, and then it didn't. And so I got into a group that was oriented in further growth, and that's where we are now. And yeah, we've made the Inc. 5000 4 times, which, as you know, it gets harder and harder every time because it's multiples, it's a progression. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Scott, congratulations on all the success. I can relate with so much of what you said. I want to talk through a little bit about the power of focus. We talk to a lot of firm owners, and a lot of firms become very successful doing a lot of different things. Our personal experience at Sterling was that we were going to do one thing really well and create a factory almost of repeatable work that we can do at a very high level. And it feels like you went through that same kind of inflection point of being hyper-focused on family. Give us a little perspective on that learning experience and the benefit.
Well, when I came out of big law, I'd done a lot of courtroom. I was very comfortable in the courtroom, and family law has some differences to commercial litigation. I found out very quickly. It's a court of for all the lawyers. It's a court of equity, not a court of law, and so it felt very what's the right word? It felt very squishy. It was hard. You don't go in and get summary judgment motions, and you don't make very few things are decided as a matter of law. The standards are squishy. It's the best interest of the children. It's equitable division of property. It's those kinds of things, especially with no fault divorce. Not very much matters except what's in the best interest of the children, what's in what's fair and equitable. And yeah, there's a long statute in Washington, but some of it is pretty legal. But child support is fairly wooden. But a lot of it is, I would say, guidelines, kind of squishy. There's case law that instructs the courts how to deal with those and attorneys. But, one of the things that I tell our attorneys is we have offices now clear across Washington state, and it's very clear and I'm sure you all have experienced it too, which is that all family law is local, and it depends on the judge or commissioner, and that can vary even within a locality. And you really have to know how things are handled locally. So you have to know the local rules, but beyond that, you have to know the local people.
I mean, it's local in almost every aspect, right? Even on the marketing side, when we work with firms, we've realized that over 40% of leads come from the maps, if you're thinking about just from internet only. And that is all based around your location. It's based on the map algorithm and the drive time from your office to other places in that town and city. And so
all marketing for family law, when we started doing only family law, that's one of the things that I learned, just what you said, that all marketing is local. you can't have a statewide website. I mean, our website is statewide, but it's very geared towards localities. And even people, people are, when you start drilling down, people are different from city to city, especially, in the West. I mean, this side of the state is politically fairly conservative, and the other side of the state, where the majority of the west side of the state, Seattle, King County, where the majority of our population is quite liberal. If you watch the news, quite very blue, and so all of that plays into marketing. Some marketing that works very well over on this side of the state. When we first went into the other side of the state, it's like, well, we're spending all this money and we're not very good response. What's going on? And then as we work through it, we realized that the values that people have over here are different than the values that people have over there. And no judgment, people can have, I'm very libertarian, people can have whatever values they want, but we had to shift our marketing to get a good response on that side of the state.
Very locally focused. That's so true, and it's something that we see every day. Scott, I love your story. Love the path it took for you to get to where you are today. As we close up here, give us a little preview of what the future of your firm looks like. Are you going to continue to expand across the state?
Yeah, we'll continue to expand across the state. We are right now looking at expanding into Idaho, and at some point probably southward into Oregon along the I-5 corridor. We are, I would say our biggest block we really have our marketing dialed in. My son, who's about, what is he, a 10, 12-year attorney now, is a full partner with me and owner in the firm, and has really got the marketing dialed in. So we're very, I'm fairly tech savvy for someone of my age, as he would say, but not like he is, and he really gets how the marketing works, and has worked with some good people and really understands it. But yeah, the future is continued growth and also filling in. I mean, we believe that we have a mission to our tagline, to use a marketing term, is that we help our clients become family heroes. And so what we want is to, when people come in for a divorce, which is our bread and butter, it's the bread and butter of any family law firm, they come in for a divorce, most of our clients are worried about what happens to my family, what happens to my kids. And our goal is to take a long-term view. Our objective, we take a long-term view. We help them. A lot of them are in the fight mode still, with their ex-significant other. And we say, where do you want to be in 5 years? A lot of them haven't thought of that. And that helps us calm things down, get the case together, find out a way for them to co-parent and move on and really have a better life. And so we really feel like we have a mission to help people going through that in Washington. And so if we really believe that, my feeling is that if we really believe that we have a mission and we can make a difference, we should expand so that we can help more people. And that's what we're trying to do.
That's incredible. And having a mission and a focus where you're really able to change people's lives for the better. Why wouldn't you expand? Why wouldn't you want to continue to help?
Well, I loved, for the first part of my career, working for billion, trillion dollar companies and flying all over the United States, and having a big office in a tall building with a great view and all of that. I mean, it was pretty cool, but this is better. This is better because we are making intergenerational differences in the lives of our clients, and that's pretty cool.
Scott, I so appreciate you and your story. I appreciate your time. Listeners, I hope you're able to get something truly valuable out of this, and we will see you next time on the Revenue Roadmap. If you enjoyed Scott's story, you will love our continuation of our interview series where we interview the attorney at Brotherton Law. Make sure to check it out right over here.